Thank you, Amelia. Next, Sheila Black.
Good evening. I wrote this first one this afternoon because I kept hearing a phrase in my head, lest we forget. I saw it on a book, there was something written about it, and then that's all I could hear was, lest we forget, lest we forget. So I wrote a poem to the phrase, lest we forget, and called it, Lest You Forget What? Lest you forget, a phrase used to introduce the ongoing intimidation of an anxious waiter and his subjugation while serving coniglio alla incarnatana, stuffed rabbit, doesn't mean being forgetful runs in your family, or that you lack compassion for rabbit-like waiters, but more that you are a connoisseur of unusual serving attitudes and that you collect them like socially incorrect furs. Your real interest, however, unknown to the many obsessive gourmands, judging and evaluating the most minute aspect of food and its presentation at restaurants all over town, riding a wave of senses in sight, smell, and taste, may be your fascination with the waiters themselves and not the food. Their suffering over the placement of the rabbit on a gold-leafed plate to the left of the asparagus or to the right, gives them an honorary position, a special place, if you will, in your idea of the unseen rules that direct the universe. Manners, a leftover relic of the past, only referred to now as the archaic ballast that once held up what we used to call civilization, are only used in comedy routines by men from New Zealand. Fearful and anal retentive waiters aside, and lest you forget, your ideas about old-fashioned phrases and old-fashioned manners wouldn't be discussed, since they would strongly dislike rather than hate it if they caused a ripple in the social fabric. Lest we forget. This other one I've been working on for a while. It's really my expression of awe about the universe. So I'm going to read it. Big Bang unfolded in the blink of an eye. Astrophysicists report the universe expanded rapidly, growing from the size of a marble to billions of light years across within seconds after its cataclysmic birth. And as eyes see the world bigger than it is, as eyes see the world as a colossal moving geotectonic force filled with universal data, and as all the connections explode in my head, too small to fit this world, this word, these scattering concepts, these burgeoning ideas, this word world hangs over us, wavering too long. Like univalent stars, undiscovered and overflowing with information we need, with purposes still unknown, then suddenly breaks open, like piñatas raining down on us too many answers at once. And instead of red, gold, blue, and yellow wrapped candies meant only for our senses, and instead of syncopated messages from all the new species we have never known and could not imagine, and instead of inventing new languages, and instead of training ourselves to be something or someone else, we transform, we elevate, we raise our awareness with new answers before the old ones can be digested. One answer says, go to South America and discover the rainforest. The question, what happened to the rainforest, has nothing to do with it. One answer says, look up at the skies, they're our source of illumination. The question, why don't we know what's inside black holes, unanswerable. One answer, we may not know as much as we thought. The question, why does man think he's more advanced than any other species, doesn't matter. One NASA scientist says, it never ceases to amaze me that it is possible to tell what is going on in the first moment of the universe. So I am amazed. I'm amazed at how much we think about things. Hot spots in maps correspond to red-hot geological clumps of matter, later become galaxies. Cold spots match voids between galaxies. Voids duplicate what's inside of us when we meditate for very long or if we become Buddhists. And these cavernous cavities can be heard in those inevitably still, small voices in which a trance ensues. Dolphin Dream Yoga, Jill's yoga page. Sign my guest book, view my guest book, sign my guest book, view my guest book, sign my guest book. Handstand, Trikonasana. You have to have strong elbows. Yoga energy, Virabhadranasana. Breathe deeply. Blow out slowly. You have to be flexible and present. Lion's pose. As you breathe out, express all the muscles in your face and make a loud noise. Multiversity and sustainable development, now known as ecotexture, flings itself into the void and we are one, we are one, we are more than one, comes along later bringing us to the present. Then we mapped it. We mapped it all over. We made universal maps for everything. We mopeded it over rocky hills and graveled gullies, slipping and sliding like cowboys, holding on to the saddles of their own personal Brahmas. Think this one through. We explored all over that sleepy western landscape, found arrowheads every weekend, dug up the prehistoric life forms in embedded rocks, our fossil friends, and went fishing in milky white stalactite pools lost forever in underground caves, only a few feet from our backyard but waiting for us. Another physicist said this, "In our lifetime, the whole conception of the universe has changed. My son Sean says he will take the art supplies I gave him home for the weekend and draw me something. Surfing the net like a late-night ghoul looking for a victim, he looks for chess games and free cell games, turtle style in his bedroom cave for hours and hours. Hardy Vikings could do no less. We and all we can see are at most a tiny dot in an unimaginably large sea of space and time." David Susskind. The next one I'm going to do, I've also been working on, and I think it's about nature. Perennial pattern. The trees, those modest woody temples, grounded in the earth, perennial swayers, supporters of the main stem, disperse in rooted and viney tangles, slowly spread out and soak up all the vital nutrients. Trees, rising up and rooting down at the same time, reach great distances depending on your view, finally become vital statements in the unquestioned forest laid out over time. Their organic translucence are markers for and tell stories about their inhabitants and the encumbered state of their attachments, like warriors with too much paraphernalia and too many ideas forged in the past. Like Gawain and his Green Knights, they are questing and bound to their formalities, in leafy dresses and with aged rings cutting through time. I stand on their silvery green carpet, my mail a steel and wooden fortress, my leather gloves, tingling fingers gripping the branches, pointing a menacing pike at the path before me. I am peerless behind my prophetic mask, projected from a steely helm. The sacred rules conducting this quest guides a combative stance and still searches for a cause. Just one glimpse of the last lost reminders keeps me here. Finally, I've become a tree creeper on a stalwart bark, feeling like a parasite on a roughly loved surface. I'm a long curving swing, thrusting upward. A balanced pendulum rings every hour as I hang in my personal tree. My nature shares and shares alike what I may learn of a pristine world as I write about trees that perennially shelter us and ours, me and mine.